Let's talk about a Mexican star, Herc, on the rise, because there are many fading stars when it comes to the national team, but we found one. Cesar Huerta, the 23-year-old winger for Pumas in Liga MX, who's having a great season between the Apertura and Clausura combined. He's had 8 goals and 8 assists in league play. He scored for Mexico as well against Australia, remember, in a friendly last September. There are reports out of Mexico that's linking him with Champions League level clubs in both the Premier League and La Liga, as well as apparently elsewhere in Europe, Herc. Where do you think Cesar Huerta should go, and what level do you think he's ready for?
Listen, I think Cesar Huerta is a hell of a 1v1 player. I think he's been doing very well these last 2 seasons at Pumas. Even before that at Mazatlan, there were very interesting things. I don't think he's ready for a top 5 league as of yet. I hear these leagues, the Premier League, I hear La Liga being thrown out. I don't think he's there yet. I think we're talking about the leagues just beneath it, the Portugals of the world, the Belgiums of the world, the Netherlands of the world, Eredivisie of the world. And that's where I think his level is at. And that's where I think he should go. I would go to a team like Feyenoord. Feyenoord, to me, makes a ton of sense. Look at the players they've brought in Igor Paixão, Santiago Jimenez. They're patient with those players. And there is a connection with Feyenoord and the Mexican player. And that connection is Dennis de Close, the ex-LA Galaxy general manager, the ex-Mexican Federation executive, has a connection with Mexican football. He understands the value. It's an offensive league that will give young players a chance. This makes sense to me. A team that's going to fight for titles, but give those players an opportunity and be patient with those players if that opportunity does not come. It makes a ton of sense for me. I think going to a different, higher league like a La Liga or a Premier League would be very difficult for him, and it could be detrimental to said development.
I'm with you. I love the Feyenoord shout. I had kind of thought of it as the Premier League and La Liga Champions League qualifier teams that were kind of my pool to pick from, but Feyenoord's a great shout, and I think more the level. If we're being honest about Cesar Huerta and the player that he is, he's a good player, but we don't see guys go from Liga MX to the Premier League very often. We don't see guys go Liga MX to La Liga very often. There's a reason for that. And so, if I look at it, and I look at the Premier League, the first 3 teams in the Premier League, your City, your Arsenal, your Liverpool, no way, not even close. And even Aston Villa seems like a long shot. If I look at the first 3 out of Spain, those also seem like a world away from where he's at now. I'd love to see him at Atleti. That'd be great. But I don't know that he'd get the minutes that he needs for development, like you were saying. So then that leaves us with Girona, which feels accessible and also is a club that loves to play attacking soccer, plays attractive soccer. I think he could be a great fit there. So if I was looking, Herc, at the Champions League qualifiers out of those 2 countries, I'm basically left with Girona by default. But still, it feels like a major jump for a guy who's had success in Liga MX, but I don't think we would say he's dominated yet, would we?
There are moments when he dominates, but not complete performances.
Moments.
Girona is a massive step up. And the reason I say that's a City Group controlled team. They're a top 3 team.
Might not be by the time Champions League rolls around, but yeah.
Well, we will see. Either way, that's a team that's heavily funded and heavily recruited. And you look at their foreigners, Daley Blin's there, Jan Couto, Yangel Herrera, John Solis, Savio, the 20-year-old Brazilian wonder kid.
Savio's going back to City, right? Open up a spot for my guy. Open up a spot for Chino.
Right now, that's his spot, his position. He's 20 years old. I mean, you got Dovic, you got Victor on the other side. This is a team where the foreigners are of weight of a certain class. That's a massive step for Cesar Huerta.
You know what I'm curious about here is what the dollar amount would be, because this is the kind of guy, this is the exact example, Herc, of what we've talked about with the Mexican national team. Cesar Huerta's value is probably greater to Pumas being sold in Liga MX to a Rayados, to a Tigres, to a Chivas, than it is selling it to a Feyenoord or to a Girona, right? They could maybe ask for 15, 20 million domestically. They might have to settle for 10 million or less if they sell him to Europe. And this will be a real test of the Mexican system and Liga MX and the Federation and Pumas, if they're willing to sell this kid to where he wants to go, which we assume is Europe, or if they're going to take the big cash, which will surely be in Mexico.
That's what everybody's saying right now. that Pumas is not going to let this guy go. And even if they do let him go, I mean, there's
Great.
been dollar
Great.
signs pointing to Monterrey. So
Great.
remain to be seen. But yeah, I think if he does leave, the step up is a natural Eredivisie, Belgium, Portugal.
Man, it sounds like the next Rodolfo Pizarro from what you just said. He's going to get stuck in Mexico
Well,
and
no,
end
Rodolfo
up in MLS
Pizarro
one
went to
day.
Major League Soccer first.
Yeah, got sold in Rayados. Got sold to Rayados.
Oh, yes.
And then went to Inter Miami. But anyway, never went to Europe until it was too late, and he went to Greece.